In this video, we're going to be looking at the new Zhiyun Crane 4e, a lighter, more affordable version of the Zhiyun Crane 4 that I've been using for most of this year in my real estate media business. Not only are we going to dive into how it performs on real client shoots, the video clips shot with it, and the differences between the two, but we're also going to see how this more affordable version stacks up to the previous one and if it's worth it altogether. So let's get into the video right now. Okay, so disclaimer, Zhiyun. It's pronounced Zhiyun. I didn't remember that in the video. Not Zhiyun, it's pronounced Zhiyun. So anytime I say that, it's Zhiyun. Back to the video. Did send me the Crane 4 combo free of charge. However, everything in this video I'm just mentioning based on my real world experience, just like I did with the previous model, which like I've said, I've been using most of this year since I got this one, and it's been great. So I'm excited to give you my actual experiences and thoughts using this for the past month. Okay, so to start off, I think it makes the most sense to compare the new 4e to the original Crane 4 and the differences between the two. First off, you can tell that the original Crane 4 is all blacked out, which of course I really like, but the new one has this, as my friend put it, a Star Wars theme to it. This light gray, silver color scheme, but some of the parts of it are still black. I personally like it. That doesn't bother me at all. You know, just obviously a very subtle immediate difference that I noticed between the two. Now they claim that it is lighter, and I'm all about that, of course, especially when we're holding big rigs like this for long periods of time. This one is 3.69 pounds and the new one is 3.53 pounds. Those weights are also without the tripod legs, so not a huge difference, probably not something that you would even notice, but hey, I'm always down for a more lighter gimbal setup because, as you all know, if you use a gimbal for long periods of time, it can definitely get really tiring and hard on your back and things like that. So I definitely appreciate any and all efforts to make a more lighter version. Okay, so now let's break down what's different. Immediately, the first thing I noticed is the original Crane 4 has this built-in 10-watt fill light. And when I made an original review about this, I showcased it, but to give you my honest opinion, I've never really used that fill light. Just because if I'm shooting anything professionally, I'm gonna be using some sort of light source like this, like, you know, a big key light. This is not something that I just found myself ever needing, so having this feature removed is honestly totally okay by me. If anything, it's better because that's probably where the small weight reduction came from. So yeah, no complaints by me. One thing I do have to mention that I'm actually really glad that they removed it is this has pinched my fingers so many times and it hurts really, really bad. Whenever you're balancing it and you're balancing the camera straight up, your finger can get caught. It's barely, here, I'll bring this closer to the camera. Your finger can get caught right between these little grooves and the actual light itself like this. Okay. Dang, there's this one piece of the gimbal that always nicks my skin. Actually hurts so bad. So whenever I would be balancing it, you know, straight up and then let it go, oh man, the amount of times that caught my finger and actually almost made me bleed a few times. Long story short, that fill light is in here, so that can't happen on the new one. And I'm glad that that's gone because that makes it a lot better. The next biggest difference is that it doesn't have the balance indicators or any lights in general like the previous one had. So the previous one had light indicators that came up right here, and it would tell you if you didn't balance your gimbal correctly by flashing red. But again, if you're just someone that already knows how to properly balance a gimbal, it's not a feature that I constantly used or relied on. I will say that having both of these parts light up with like a soft white light the whole time was really nice. But other than that, the balance indicators I never really used. I know how to properly balance it. Here it is, you know, I don't actually use my Canon R6 Mark II on this gimbal. I use my main camera, the R5C, but my point being that I quickly balance this super fast and it works great. And in the gimbal, it has its own balance indicating system, so you can just use that to make sure that you're balanced correctly if you have any doubts. Another small difference I noticed is that the original one comes with this little magnetic tool where you can use that for the base plate. Again, not a big deal breaker because it's actually pretty hard to tighten it down pretty strong with this little one. So I just use another multi-tool kit thing that I have that's a lot easier to tighten it down. So again, not something that I'm gonna miss. So that's pretty much it. Everything else is the same. Really good battery life, all the other features, same settings, everything else is the same other than those few things that I mentioned. And I think that is a pretty good deal because I think at the time of this video, this is going to be launching at $4.99 versus the original Crane 4 that's now been out for a bit is still $6.69 at the time of recording this video. Okay, so now let's get into how it actually performs. Anytime I do a gimbal review, the first thing I want to know is the gimbal really good at just what it's supposed to do, which is just getting smooth and stable footage. I don't care how many gimmicks it has or everything that it can do. I would just rather have the most plain gimbal, no extra features or nothing, that can just get smooth shots, and that would be good for me. But I can honestly say that this one is fantastic. It was completely the same as the previous one, which I really liked as far as stabilization, the way it handled everything. I will even say, straight out of the box, I had to do more tweaks to the original Crane 4. Like, it was a really fast-paced moving gimbal, and for real estate work, you definitely want to do a lot of more slower panning, slower movements, but smoother shots. And this one out of the box, I basically had to change like 2 settings, like smoothness to high or the speed of it to slow. But other than that, straight out of the box, it came out great. It's like the day before I got this, I was using the Crane 4 for a shoot. Then it came in, set it up that night, and then the next day when I had another shoot, performed exactly the same. And another thing I wanted to note is I feel like this one straight out of the box is a lot better at panning. One thing that I did notice with the first Crane 4 is as you were panning, it wasn't as smooth. It's like it would pan, stop, and it was just not a very fluid motion. And that was one complaint I mentioned in that review video that I did for that one. But this one, I feel like is just extremely smooth. As you're turning, everything is going to be really slow and steady and fluid, like I wanted from the previous version. So I honestly say that the stabilization is probably even better in this one. Okay, and then another big thing about these is the fact that it supports native vertical shooting. So you don't have to get any extra attachments. All you do is take off this base plate, mount it onto here, and you're good to go, which I'll show you right now. So I'm going to lock this up, and I'm going to zoom out a bit, and I'm going to unlock this part. Okay, so took off the whole base plate, everything just like that, and it literally just slides in right there. I have to move the original plate down, and that's it. So just like that, it's already mounted vertically. All I have to do is bounce it again. Now, one big drawback that I did notice that I even reached out to Zhiyun about is the fact that on the old model, you could take off this base plate. So this base plate could come off, and it's probably not a deal breaker for others, but because my other camera setup, the one that I actually use for video shoots, is a lot bigger, this would constantly kind of be in the way. Especially as you'll see in the B-roll, I use the dual handle, which is really, really handy. I'll get into those accessories in a minute, but then I have a battery mounted on here to power my camera, and this would constantly bump with it. So long story short, I wish that this plate could come off whenever you're mounting vertically. Otherwise, if you wanted to leave it there by choice, so be it. But they mentioned that they decided to leave it to where you can't take it off so you don't lose it. And I actually get that because there has been one time where I was headed to a video shoot and I did a vertical shoot the day before, and I left this plate it fell out of my bag, and that next shoot was not supposed to be a vertical shoot, so I had to shoot it vertically. Luckily, the client was really cool with it. So, to their point, I totally get it, and that will probably be better in the long run, but just something I definitely noticed that I felt like this could just get in the way sometimes. But yeah, here it is, mounted vertically. You know, I'm going to balance it real quick and show you how I do that. So first, I always balance a gimbal straight, the camera lens facing up, like this. So that's level, lock that down. Now I'm going to balance it like this, which it luckily already is, funny enough. You can tell by if you put it at 45 degrees if it actually is balanced. Now I'm going to unlock the roll axis. Now I'm going to unlock this one, scoot it over to where it's balanced. There we go. So far, so good. Perfect. Everyone has a different way of balancing this next one, but this is the way how I do it. I unlock it, I hold it at 45 degrees like this, and it's supposed to sit 45 degrees over. So as you can see, it's not staying right there, so I need to adjust it slightly. If anything, this plate is actually nice being right here, being like a counterbalance. And I did it too much. This is the stuff I like to do ahead of a shoot. I don't actually like doing this on location. Like, I balance my stuff ahead of time. That way, it's just ready to go when I get there. Okay, but there we go. It's staying right where I want it at. So that's perfect. Now I'm going to start it up. Since it's the same setup, I don't need to recalibrate the weight or anything. And there you go. And then I typically just use pan follow in follow mode. So this is follow, where it's going to go, you know, up and down, left and right. And yeah, this feels really good. And this is pretty lightweight. This is a pretty lightweight setup. But that's how easy it is to mount this vertically. And of course, to go back to it, you would just take it off from here, put it back on the main plate, rebalance it, and you're good to go. So it's definitely really easy. Now, when it comes to accessories, I'm typically not a fan of like the gimmicky style accessories they try and add on, but for the Crane 4, this is what I was really impressed, because both of them I truly use, and this is not how I typically use the gimbal. This is how it is bare bones, but these two main things are a game changer. So this is your wrist rest. This goes right here on the bottom, so we'll put that on first. This is really, really nice because it is acts as like a rest, another point of contact for your wrist, and it is such a difference. That's something that I never got to experience on DJI gimbals, and I never knew I needed till I started using it. So when you hold the gimbal like this and you start, you know, moving it like this, or you're holding it like this, instead of all that weight being on your wrist, now you have another point of contact right here to also help with stabilization, smoother shots, and less fatigue on your wrist. Because without this there, immediately when I use another gimbal, I notice that I'm like, man, I really wish I could put this on. And second is the dual grip. Don't mind this. This is a NPF battery adapter for my Canon R5C. So, but again, I love that you can add other accessories to these things, so it's really versatile. But that goes on the other side. This is that multi-tool I was talking about by Small Rig. So this screws on to the other side, like so. And honestly, I never thought that I would be using a gimbal like this, but I honestly use it like this 100%, and it's so much better. Something about this format where you hold the gimbal like this versus your left hand at the bottom makes such a difference on your back. I don't know what it is. It's all upper body strength. Like, I just feel it in the biceps, chest area. Whenever I do this for a long period of time, or even if I have the sling grip over here, I start feeling it in my back and lower back, and it starts to hurt a lot, versus I can hold this setup for hours for long real estate shoots, content shoots, whatever it is, and it's just really handy. Between the dual grip and then the wrist rest, definitely, like, I would only get the combo version of this gimbal just because these two accessories are definitely worth it. So whenever I use my main setup, as you'll see in the B-roll, I put a battery right here, and then that connects to the camera to just give me all day power, and I don't have to worry about switching batteries at all. Okay, so final thoughts. Honestly, I am truly impressed that this more affordable version of the Crane 4 is just as good. Like I said, for me and my workflow and the type of stuff that I use, I don't miss any of the features that they removed. I think it's actually a plus because it's made the gimbal a little bit lighter. I don't use the fill light, the balance indicating lights, never use them as well. It's just a more stripped down, bare bones version of an already great gimbal that's just a little bit lighter and a little bit more affordable, which is a win in my book. So this will probably be replacing my Crane 4 for the time being because, like I said, it has everything that I need. The multiple shoots that I've already done the past couple of weeks with this has been great. Nothing I missed from the previous one. Yeah, I just honestly say if you're in the market for a gimbal, I feel like the Crane 4E is definitely the one that I would be going for. Definitely the combo version, like I mentioned, because I feel like these two things make it that much better, a lot more comfortable, just a lot less stress and fatigue on your back whenever you're holding this for long periods of time. It's just a really versatile system, and I've been happy with it this whole year, so I feel like it just got a little bit better, in my opinion. Okay, so that's pretty much it. If you're interested in picking up the Zhiyun Crane 4E, make sure to use the link in my description. And as always, thanks so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed, comment down your thoughts, and subscribe if you haven't already. I would love for you guys to be part of the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya!